Paragade Parasamgade Bodhe Soha Deyata Gade Paragade Parasamgade Bodhe Soha Egere Antonra Egejo Shenwa Mediane Me Kendan Jewa Temba and Joje Bensum Sojo Ajin Genja Ejin Nile Sho Saji Be Joy Me Do Dam Re Ra Le Je Nye Ge Ba Ende Sign Jaya Shaya Doi Mea De Wai Doi Gaya Noam Doi Lai Jam Baroi Sho Yedam Guru Mendela Kanerya Daya Chodon Soge Chonamla Chancho Bardo Dane Chapsoche Dagi Give Sonamki Dola Benje Sanje Dobora Sho Chodon Soge Chonamla Chancho Bardo Dane Chapsoche Dagi Give Sonamki Dola Benje Sanje Dobora Sho Chodon Soge Chonamla Chancho Bardo Dane Chapsoche Dagi Give Sonamki Dola Benje Sanje Dobora Sho
Simje Tamji to Topjalana Yanta Zoga Saji Koboran Bojini and Tobasha, Tishi, the Tambi Shu saying, Gun Shangju Sim Juma Twinja said them December.
For the welfare of all the sentient beings, may I able to listen this Lamrim Chemo to liberate all the sentient beings from their cyclic existence of samsara. So may I able to listen this teaching. So before we explain, I explained that I want to go through this couple of pages as an oral transmission of this Lamrim Chemo.
Joan Jever Juju the Shiva Ding Pardini Shini Hono Kashana, Shini also gone by Yila Shivani with the Sami Tadani. Sema Yel Shiva the Red number Jeva the Shira the Nova Jeva 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 Keva the Shara Juju Paracoiva. Then the Southern Show here, Naman Nam, Timber so then Dotet Jijun Gomba, Narsin train, Narji, Shilaki, Monzin Lang, but them Zato. Goriva Valeja was Shirji, number I said, and non do me well like General go, the Shin young about the one they were singing Lan. Shine show, Shine, Tinila, the number two, but then not doing the Shiva, the Shijiman. Tela Chini Yava Chiva Danga Cheta Yava Jiro Naba Metavisu Giovanni Shini Jevo Chini Yava Chiva de Chetawa Chetawa Yava Chiva Tova the Sonia di Giovanni Lockdown Migbo Chetawa the Chia Lado Chiba La Metava Giovanni Shine. You think number Javan lockdown the song the Gondele Jamajan. Tushini Shini, Jimala Katsa, the number materials, Tushi, Law, Chikona, number of Tobata, Tushi, and you give me one law, Katsa, Yin, the Gobata, go by you, no good, go with your touch, about the Shini, when you so soon be Shindipe, Marsiva, Shine Lano, Chiraji, Yagalame, which the Hidani, 每一个呢，所有每些经验，每些东西都比现在就有了，东西嘛都比劳动就有的，甚至收入都有了，有些有把现弄的，你把别弄，现在也讲了，他把的千万的都把那我老多一说，看到什么呢？都把那什么都把那。세계 얼마 봐 현에 당 세계 얼마 봐 나도 되봐 내가 많이 되게 제가 당 예제 되죠 도미 지비쇼도 공부를 받아서 현에 당 나도게 세계 GSTDL 배반나 심미벌 제지 비베 되게 현에 당 시제도요 또 버도 제비쇼 나도 소마든 예배제로 제벌도 있으면 또 버리고 세제 가르 예매니 땡이든 저 예매제 셔와 인 히라 제벌도 때네 메리디 신이 제 땡은지 타제라 지원성바 예벌 거라 지원의 제외 땡은지 타제라 선지 당생 예벌 거비셔로 대전에 시다라 메지 땡은지 शेराजी ये दामे वाजी खाया जो लोटी तो मातो जी गोने यो सो चाहे ये सिम देशे जे में तो बंदे में जी गोने गोने बा मिंजते गोने बा मिंजते ये दामे बे दे को ये दे कोना ला लो का मा जो बा देशे में तो देंगे जे बा दो ये भी शेरो这一路到别到嘛，你说是不这样？没到把说没，确保我手机这边东西嘛个，因为没到别这个这几位叫我老，你我就是就没了。第一个呢，这没有，第一个呢，什么人都是那，什么是别就弄的说让我接了。叫这结巴那绿的我是我搞的我去的我要去年别的我结我那个这个结巴那搞我的说那不是就什么老社交呗那的什么都别点个这他结果那也到把人就把那些好呀其实到我这没到天那东西都别点个这了。देशे में तो वो वाला तो ये माता पा तो ये लोग मुझे भी देख जिला यार देशे में तो जो शे मोए तीन की शे बजे शे गुसो शिवा शिला ने का गुमु को भी जो तेरे ने भी जी ने तो ना तो रे गो भी जो वो जे गो गुमु को इन में जी शे बजा दी बेरा छमो लोरी的东的妈妈爸爸那妈妈现在烧的龙个没有你的点呢，这个呢现在烧东啊养东了，东老妈没烧啊，那么晒我龙个就那么熟那么晒，我都没东我现在什么都到啊。这可能也同时就马路上给写了的，是美国的学生对吧？现在没有你，他们这可能也是吧，同是不现在没找啊，你没找别定的也讲一路都别写着外面的，这可能也在每个东西这定的钱了，这怎么可能这么一路都没事了？那没别这个也可能去别到也讲是不是在这个地方呢？我这别定的钱没呢？राम में बड़ा ये नाम तो गुलंगे तो भी ये इन लोग ये तो से वो तो में से शेला ये कर गुबा ये दे गुरु बाबा ले शेने दालू ने शेने दाटे अल्लाह तो बा ये के ने जो बेस में ये लो ना पर ये वो जो लोंगे ना ना तो भी मर में से दे ते बा में जो बे जो ये दे ने ये ना से दे से वो में जो दे ये कर जो ते बा शो ती से बाबा有时两个人在到来讲，年纪到，年年提些别这个马东电个进写为写的，写了去就小日子吧，那同没几位没写的写了去为写的。电个进去为写了提也别那他就写的为现在都什么的别写了写，刚才的现在就到底。毛没弄没吧，下巴些就哪怕到别弄那些是不是我们就说劳动给那边，到我那边超话他到我帮呗。 신다게 미시데 다와드메 돌비게 신이 또 요메 바주라라동 케니 레던저 주르 해송바 따부스 다지리 건지 디 신좀데 디자레 신이 라동 무어테데 마레샤 제자 디 가사这吧他手有子些吧，他这就第一了些吧，没把他们这那没吧那个定子，什么那什么做吧，丢的做吧，也吧有就的些吧，定子些吧，劳动和现在现在些小务是，现在用是过没一了些吧，第一。一现在上边学的年纪，怎么也写吧的人那么几吧，学了那么几吧呢？ये वैसे बात के बात तो शेरब जी जो भी फर्क हो ही बा देने लगता हूँ शेष दादी हिला वो करे से देरे से ता काजे हिने से न इन्हें से मिबाल शायद तो जी इन्हें मियो नाम तो मियो वाले पिक्चर जी नहीं तो वाले हिने से करे से ता लगता से न करे से न हिने ने से में गाने इन्हें सोचो जी भी तो भी शेरब जी चेनी इन्हें 이제는 애는 다 고음니까서 현장을 생배 어디를 싫어도 활동세 그랬어. 어디다 실라진 건지들.
So Geshe read this oral transmission from page 17, third volume, page 17, from the middle, from middle to the page 20 until the second last the paragraphs. The power of meditative serenity makes your mind steady inside, make it like a mountain. So up to here. So here, what the Geshe is roughly highlighting over those, like we are on the topic of the nature of serenity and insight, and which shows about these. The shamatha or the serenity is about like when you are focusing into the object of meditation and stabilize your mind, and then the insight, which is to distinguish the details about the object of meditation. So that is the rough explanations about this serenity and insight.
그래서 신이 그게 신라 문제들 때야데 이네 제가 돌려야 차동에서 뭐 보여야 돼. 이네 도딩 예동도레스. 그래서는 네 잠유들 된도 도대게 니가 공부다 제와 나게 나도지 네버 때문에 제도 쓰다 도리게리 티 공부되는 자라 이는 돌리 피게 송야가 신라 문제들이야. 이네 그래 네버 때문에 도레스. 또 그래서 맞아 고문을 봐발래 야는 다다티 나긴 그게 신내라 아는 심 마이마 이 샤네 근데 뒤 심 샤베 또 이제 신장세 바디 신내세 또 신내에 거네 제바시베 또 신장세 바디 셔라데 이 라동서 샤샤스 셔다 다는 도드 대주 건가 이 공부지 레스 셔다디 티코나타 가진 로링 예버레스 와다 티 태주 메버더스 와다
So that's why the teachings of this topic, the serenity and then the insight, even though it is explained in the definitive teachings of Buddha and the interpreted teachings of Buddha, but right now on this serenity, explaining on this topic of serenity and insight, which you have to follow the definitive teachings, whatever the sutra and then these the commentary as explained, you have to follow this through, because after stabilizing, concentrating into the object of meditation, which is the serenity, when you reach into the level of mental and physical pliancy or peace or mental peace and physical calmness, then you achieve that serenity. And then on that very topic there, when you engage and then you find the more deeper meaning out of that meaning is the insight. So that's why you have to take the direct meaning, whatever it is explained, you cannot further explain from that.
지금 송이를 신내지면 뭐 디지버려도 세다 this hour that you Jordan when the sugar mother don't you do motto say the day myself seen in he did to Jogum she Lado to Jagum she told this hour I said the number of the Sunnis not that because he knew going to the Sunnis to that because big work going to do Lagu going to do dog on the Sagon degree can chair about what she thought take Tamodi and big tell ya and lolling here she would tell in the Sunni go at Matu, young people make that go at she said the Sunnis, the Hine Mabos. Though she knew you was it, she was you got used to what she knew you were just number of what you was the number of what Sunni Namdo, which number of what citizens, they young number, the city gets the matter. Chebashi others, that country. She needs all Jogun Shiora, Lagdo Chebashi, number of what she was Sunni children. Lagdo me was or tell it, or the Koran, you Koran, because Eugene Gumdang Shan, Shagun Major, and a big pastor session, Shagumaris, Pen, Chinel Tony Matova, in Lagdon Tony Topping over your Maris, Hila said the Shiruba tomorrow, she done Hila Ningas Shirubala, your ain't Tony Tomarwa, she had the local pig. Gumdada any teeth of Shagun Matuji, we go to Shagumaris, what that country.
So normally the serenity and penetrative insight that normally we differentiate is like when you which is called the serenity means post meditation, and then insight means like an analytical meditation. So therefore, like in order to practice, even though when you meditate on an object of meditation, especially on the object of meditation on serenity, you don't have to analyze, like you can stay on any object of meditation, like can be statues or Buddhas or flowers or any kind of idol object without analyzing into it, and then you can meditate. So that's why like you don't have to analyze. But in the insight, the object of insight, you have to check properly. So that's why like there shouldn't be any kind of like doubt before you engage into meditation or single point of meditation. So that's why like even though in the ultimate practice that even the object may be same, but in serenity you don't have to analyze and you just stay into the focus, and because you don't have to use visions, or like just you can imagine and then just visualize and without analyzing. But in the inside you had to imagine and analyze each and object, so you had to clear the doubt before you focus into the object of meditation, so only then you can practice. So that's how they even as you know that in the serenity, that even non-Buddhists and Buddhists also can practice, but especially in the insight, you had to understand that clear the doubt, and then you have to practice seriously. So that's why there's even the object may be same, but depending on how you practice will make a difference.
What did a gondre the teaching he Katsewa chik de namba medo sunye, tuji lado mewa la katsewa chik ona de namba tokwa de chewe sunye no si di namba medo sunye si de mikpa si de di mikpa si be miyu li shewa omar, da kanju gomdang li shewa, da hine khada se na ene zo yogu namba medo kwan peke sem di yu li nebe shan zo shiya de li hine si waris. Shero dan lagdong siya de kar de zo yu li jeba shi be doji, ene peke Dogoya de la Hong Sigores. The Migba said, the doesn't Migba and the Yul Sigara. The Migba the Yul Lagmarwa, Yul Chair Marwa, she need Lagdon, you go to Shago Marwa. She big down on the shower, that country, Java. So ya Jogumu gon Sim Yul never two Shin and Juguzella, he needs it. 조 리베지 마시고 조신 둥게들 학동 세계리스. this 다 되시니 니게 메발라스 가자 인데데 뭐부터 고요서 좀 시수 공부이노사 어디래 다 니게 메발스 힐라 송리들와 힐라 송리세들 히다가야 말다 히네 ngani 엔도 학동 조선의 힐라 송리토고라 어디래 뭐부터다 고바 용선 좀 보고 스타 히네다 이네 그래서 학동도 줘서나 엔 세델베 주둥무신 라서보다 에네 비게 등한도 능반접이 있는 다 딜데네 에네 힐라 메는 탈바탄지오 하나 더요 말와 시다 이지면지 탈바타 올라 에네 힐라 송지 타고 말와 시다 고바 용서 줘봐스 시에서 뭐 공부 이노서 어디다 지게 공부 직등이스 또 꿀레들레스 공부 군일 공부타 시다와 이바 이주 송배 신디병을 해봐 다른 신에도 나오는 레벨라 제다시 이걸 뭐 예비 쉐 히라니 위고네 소소 민지기 돈이도 비 신이 장여라 돈이 뭐도 하도 양여데 대여 심치르디 유로 600바 유바 신이 넌도 미바 네바니 신이 시샤라 사바디 쳐봐도 또에는 사도시 셔 건달 스메도반데 리베 세자 나르메바 니 히네다 세제 나리와 상도인데 바니 레버 마야디 제베카당 세 제자 제주당 토미 흉당 고메르발라서비 흉 히네당 자 학동 세니 자시르 때라베바 남레세 스미고 제지비 땡인지 히네다 시제 동안다 오라디 제 셰라 학동도 송비야 당 예외 셰르세 어디다 내가 먼저 뒤져봐 가서 신호 처음 공도 주셔야 되지 가지 신이세야 심 미국발이야 이제 세제 가서 내자 얘기야 이제 세제 말매 봐시기도 가지 심 중고 매서 가지 신이세야 가려 그래서 미국발 심 제지 내봐시 내봐 지고 내고 말이야 녀도를 비시는데 사대서 라스데서 지는 펜도 말아 시다 심 미국발 중고 내야 즉시 미국발 내봐 때 중고 내봐 지고 그래서 어디서 그래요 또 지금 세제 가리 유미가 시다가 동전인데 지금 말이지 신내를 인지면서 세제 가리고 그랬어 어디 그랬어 다디 다들 추사를 시원차 먹음도 추사 거든이다 제여서 송도다 대바디 근데 계속 먹으면 돼 어디 계신데 가 근데 제지 무슨 뭐도 다단디 이 히라 거디 동주 세월도 용게도 피지 형면을 유사 말아 제가 제르보지 데세와 체라와 시데 데스고 다 거지 단도 세제 가르쳐야 되면 심 중보 메와 심 중보 메와서 온데 이 심율 니고어디네 이 냠바 셨는데 샤도 어디 제바시네 비율 주베 이 셔럽 뛰도와 제가 돈이 도야서도 비다부터서 진짜 동시 와로 그 심디 베디 사르세데 라시데서 이 삼스미서 샤오라 어디 제가디 내가 시부시부 요래서 심 중보 거야 돼
So in regards of practicing the serenity in insight, normally like when you practice together, then you call the union of serenity and insight. And in this, even though the object of meditation could be the same, but how you focus into the object of meditation will make a difference, because in the serenity, the object of meditation on serenity, even the object will be same, but they don't analyze on that. They stay focused into the object of meditation without checking, without analyzing, and then you just focus into the object meditation. But in the object of serenity, even the insight, even the object will be the same, but you check and analyze that, like how it arises, how it is dependent, like impermanent or interdependent, or so you check and analyze. So that's why it's called the analytical meditation. So when you combine together into the object of meditation, and when you find that when you gain some like mental and physical calmness or peace or calm abiding, then you achieve this the insight and serenity. And then in this, even though this practice of serenity and insight can be found in Buddhist and non-Buddhist and any other the practice, but especially in Buddhist, without going through this proper understanding and practice on the serenity and insight, there's no way to achieve even the fortunate rebirth or liberation or enlightenment. So without having these two, there's no way out to achieve any realization, further realization. So that's why these two are important. And even though there are some, like sometimes we may think that one is another important than other. Like sometimes we may think that insight is more important than serenity. But there are like even the serenity also, there are practitioners who just focus on serenity can achieve emptiness, and there are practitioners with, even though they are practicing on the inside, there are some practitioners who haven't achieved emptiness. So there are like important in both sides. So that's why we cannot take it lightly that one is important than the other. So they are both are equally important. And then so that's why like by the purpose of encouraging into these two, this serenity and insight, is because it normally help us to like awake us from our like laxity or mental wandering or mental agitation or mental cloudiness. Like it help us to awake us from those kind of laxity. And that's why like it really help us to focus into the object of meditation, and then to help us to penetrate through those laxity and wandering or cloudiness, mental cloudiness. So in this kind of explanation, even though you may find in many other texts or any text, but the more detailed explanation about how to achieve, how to practice properly, you will only find more detail in the J Rinpoche's texts. Only the J Rinpoche explained very clearly about this, how to practice serenity and insight. And so also so that's why in most of the other texts it doesn't explain clearly on this serenity and insight.
어디 that 그래서 개발도 스무도 우리 세자서 들이 그래서 스무도 왜 세제가리 유미세야 돼 땡에서 신화도 테마리 그래서 시험마도지 희락 제가 그런 말이지 아니 희내이나 아니 신화도 되고 그랬어 어디 세제 가르세야 되고 간세다 가르세는 가르세는 됐어가 심 중고서 다가지 비비발 내기 바가지라 뇨도 소리요 말에 그게 담보 주마도 소리요 어딘데 저 애는 신화 참고시게서와 세다디 세제 가르시게 어디 세도 간지 심 중고 미발 내버서 많이 봐 미발비 담보 주통이 어딘데 저 애는 세제 가르시 어디서 와리 어디 제가 신화 땡기 다지 신화 제거 레스 제가 신이 신실 세제 가리에 캡리스 어디서 되는데 되는 시달아 미비 땡이 진다 싫어 유다음에 니 거는 거요롱아 로디 또모도 주거니 응어송아 샤에 심 데세 메도베 네베 애니 신이지 고니 응어세바 민주데 민주데 유다베베 되거니 로가 뭐죠봐 데세 메도베 땡이 빠도 예비셔로서 that is 그래서 데세월 난다 땅학도 hilak 개발 조드선 in same this go 말에 people doing so 지야 예를 메시어야 돼. 다 간지 가다죠. 지야 예를 메시어야 돼. 이 공대들은 다 딜 학동을 세워와 이제다 됐라비도 되지야 일 미제베 학동 말이 다음에 말 효고 말이 돈이고 학동 말이 가르쳤는데 ene sim peke chiru yulsu diwa tsamani mato dangmel hyo marwa se dangmel ma shu yinza dangjin sheme to marwa di ma to na ene tada ngazu nangbe tumu mai be ene hila songde se taba toya ge ene hakdong de re to mares o tisi go se ko chai sim seja sim 세동 제베 메도바 니미니 주고니 무슨 민기서 어디다 심 당자 유메다 세제 가리 유메 어디에 쳐워 요마리 당메다 발학동 세야 가르선테 코나니라 이니 그게 심 곰니 제베도 타고르 마도 지라 에네 가야 일에 마시 그게 곰데베 되게 에네 당미를 쇼고 마리 세디 당진이 뭐 주고 마리스 어디서 다 거기 탈바 던지고도 당진이 뭐 주고 거라 그래서 디 타바토야 평도 마리스
So, what the shine or the serenity really means that one has to be like clear from mental laxity, because if we don't have the clearance from the mental laxity or like mental cloudiness or mental wandering, then one may consider as the one is practicing through the serenity. So that's why it has to be very clear from those mental clearance and laxity. And so that's why like in like when we practice, so especially like when we don't have that kind of clearance, then we may not be able to see the object which is like focus into the object clearly. If we have all kind of mental cloudiness or like laxity, then we cannot see the object clearly. So that's why one have to clear from those kind of the clearance, mental clearance. And then sometimes like Hakthong, which is like seeing beyond, sometimes they call like focusing into the object of meditation, and you don't have to see the object of meditation, you are fusing the object of meditation, and that very fusing the object of meditation itself is the insight. Sometimes they try to differentiate that is called the insight, and that also not the right object of meditation, because by fusing and not seeing and trying to neutralize yourself and not seeing the object of meditation is not the true object of meditation. Because if you have that kind of object of meditation, then how can you can be able to achieve we call the selflessness of a person or selflessness of a phenomena? Because without analyzing without seeing the object of meditation through insight, there's no way to see and understand the selflessness of a person. So that's why like only through seeing the object clearly, analyzing each and every details about the self, and then how it doesn't exist of its own, it's all dependent on origination. By checking and analyzing, then you can be finally can be able to achieve this selflessness of a person. So that's why like in order to practice insight, that you have to have the analytical meditation, then only then one can be able to achieve the we call the serenity, realizing the selflessness of a person.
that's never this any digo maris, dame to maris. Thing is, the head about the marriage, sitting in using her. You know the better money jam. Simply a metal soon is sober, also you travis. Don't you mother, she may was Sagundo Karina, tell me in the Simpson, in the Simpson tower, they on the Muslim to war, what is what that? Simpson to the Muslim, Simpson talk in the same the concentrated in nature using Busha, any big Luke Longda to the Yerung season, any Hinjang Dewaji, Hinjang Dewaji, any the good thing is the Hinjang Sembatella, any Hines or she tell ya any December of say, tell ya any Tony dog, I can't do so, the regret on do or Jungze Jamela, T got the same ring to say no same simple Tuesday, she had any long less long yet. Long little Jason, any dead work at a Luke Pig, Ning the session, Luke with the Yamasiato, Kaji Yamango Gumjana, any pay Pemona, so they get myself, did a time Meva, similar gang in Meva. What today, little Kawaji scenes on in it, Hinjang scenes or what this in God. This is the till you are Tony Domo, the ending of the Hinita Tony Domo, they go to do so. That don't you know?
So that's why it's even though in order to practice, you don't have to achieve the insight also by you can, of course you can practice by focusing into the object, and then without checking and without analyzing the object of meditation, that you can practice the serenity. So that's why it's not necessary that you have to by practicing serenity and insight that you had to achieve the selflessness of a person or a phenomena, because by using the object of meditation, meditating into that, and when you reach certain level of concentration, that the time will come that you will have you use the wind or channel, and then the proper postures, so you get the mental peace, and then physical pliancy, or those when you reach certain level of meditation. So that's why it's not necessary that in order to practice either without practicing on emptiness also, you can be able to achieve the serenity.
What did that? She said that they say Meadows did that because I got you did a she wants someone nigger so any Shinesha, and she wants someone says, and they say Meadows did that same big number to a Shini, and nature shani, she was in the Deva Yungura. She did that saying art the usation, and tell it don't you to a lot recently, and how don't recently Lagos. So what did the Laya tell any Hiji along the river Kayam do so that Haji?
So, but some practitioner or non-Buddhists sometimes claim that when you have overcome the subtle laxity, then you achieve the serenity. So, sometimes they claim that clearing clearing the subtle mental laxity, that you achieve the serenity. So that's why it's not right.
What they don't you do be thing in the Layang, Seja Mu, Seja Mu, Seja Mudobo Yola, don't you the local Moshe thing in the Layang? They say Mudobo Jimmy, Chi, Mommy, did you ever check goes, or did you don't you don't know, Madonna, Delaya, in Seja Maria, that they say Mudo Chikwaris, said they say Mudobo look on Italy, in Loudon is loud to Maris. Go did it. Because a cheverchi goes also, what did that?
So that's why even though that whether you achieve emptiness or whether you haven't realized emptiness or not realized emptiness through serenity and insight, there are even those practitioners just practicing on serenity without realizing emptiness also, there are practitioners who achieve emptiness. So it's not necessary that in order to practice serenity and insight, you have to achieve the emptiness.
What did that Shiva, Hila, when we did that Hini Shiva, such a told to didn't Shiva did that Hinela also any tell ya that he did that told you that the Shiva said did it or Hila Niga Gongo begins, Hine Gom, Ladoniga Gongo Caress, and so that 타바도 토고나 주제니 지시 희니를 하도 레레고메 메쇼바 니가 곰고바 이놈냐는 시어제 데페는 쳔물로리 따위 돈디 만메 바와나 마메히드 서와 롱 메죠 있는데 나 죽는 신도 서와 통라스 마메 메세원 야메나 엔 롱구게 되나 엔 디송예 서와 통쇼마로 제가 디기 테나시 비게 롱메와디 희네시 샘디 율 네고 남도 마두고 요미 네고로 어디 희네시 또 마메테야 마메 롱메나야 마메 코노 뭐 세보메나 엔 롱메나 거기 비게 속세야 네바시모 통통 말와 제가 도스 세보요 통달래 애니 셰럽 하동도 거레스 다디 냠도 성서도 다 애니 통자 수 데빈도 칸데지나 디베 시다 시 통도 거와 어디 그거 시다 hil라니가 그거 제센테레시와다.
So which is the bottom of page 19, why number 4, the why it is necessary to cultivate both. So here, why the serenity and insight are necessary to cultivate together. It cannot be practiced just one and leaving the other. So it says that if you light an oil lamp on for the purpose of viewing a picture in the middle of the night, you will see the depictions very clearly if the lamp is both very bright and undisturbed by wind. So that's why without the disturbing, without a wind and stable like a lamp, which is considered as the serenity. Serenity cannot be disturbed by the turbulence of wind. So that's which represent no wind represent the serenity. And then lamp, the more the clearance the lamp you have, that which represent the inside. So the bigger the lamp it is, the clearer that you can see the object. So that's how it has to go together without wind disturbance and the clear lamp. Only then you can be able to see the reality.
This is the we share up the minute. Karsa, take what they make a cherry thing is going to over Mrs. What is it? Was the disabled was only a root of Shagmaris. Take has it gone down Tava that touches your Yomaris, Cornelo do Yomarwa. Because the Tava Tobala is Jimmy that Damet over this way. That dummy will take on the chibi, Tawa is some said you never then be a thing in the minute. Roma, Nando Lungi, to be. You look to Sawaton Mizivi, Hilani go go in there, said it. That's it. Hinemena, any share of Jivo in the god, you'll shave a guarded yority in a Karsana Desi or Karsa. On the Tisi with the Hingdon of Jagona, any Taran Nomboji, Pumba Tembuji goes to the one. Pumba Tembuji, any Taran Noji, anything Karen the chain, Tombo Shuza and Shiva. Says the Pumba Tembumena. In Kazakh, she didn't Yamaniga Shinglia, Pigia, Hogora, what the city said, she need go out, you did it, Pumba Tembo. Rava, the Hago go out, Pumba Tembo in a tyrant of Mena, Muzu dinner, anything to tomorrow. She said, the Lagon go out, there is a new Lagon go race. So the ye took me, you look it on Sawaton, Missy Chelsea, ye took the and the Hagon Tower, don't you talk that you do, don't you know the Java Cemetery? She not only join any big competition, you don't want near go, what you don't want near the Hini and Jimmy go, what is the word? She like you go in this ocean, the direction she like you go is. The go to Guru Pavale, he near the devil, locked on by Hikini, Nanger be similar number young Georgie. And the long Nana do be my mission the Temper Minjuro, Tempera, Minjuro, Tempera, Minjur, Corsa. Maybe my mission the Temper, Minjuro, he said. Even the Yishi, no, she knew so Minjute, the Diana, 一个的这这么小，第一是泡泡勇士两个人这么小多来讲，你对那些，第一是为了头的定义是写的，写了写了，小时候那一呢，那一呢通没的没写的，小时候嘛那一呢通没的没写的写了的，写的。定义是写了，第一些把那他们去写的，现在的那种。从把那边写入写个在的，现在一到边慢慢弄没吧，下把现在，那把到弄呢，什么样们就说，老多给那打完一遍，找我打打帮别现在给没写的，这个跟老多些的打完的领的没呢，因为我开始啥，现在他们那偏头嘛，吃肉吧就过了，现在的打完领的没呢，现在那偏头嘛的是。दार्टमेंट दल सिगे दे हिने तब जे से यो में वा जो लादो के ने रेदन दवा जो शेसो बताबो से ता रेदन दवा से तावे दिंग दे ये ना इन तावा ngemba के या इन ला नि मारो ते दे से रेदन दास से वाता ओ ते गोरे से दे हि ति दा ति सु करे दे से दा खजे देसे में तो वाले इन लादो शा इन जिवा छमो दे के तेंगे दे ता 신의 마도 건들이야 신의 샤니 얘네 학동 도서는 얘네 배 걸사디 신의 생이베 도서는 얘네 배 hil라 송주 터베 깨지시니 얘네 뜻이 문제 가시에서는 나라메게 얘네 배 조른 통보인 태우요 시우르 지금 문제 되와 뜻이 되나 뜻이 와다 진짜 추서도 되네 슈어로
So, uh, so that's why, like having the clear, undisturbed serenity, and the clearer the insight, then you will see the reality of the phenomena or reality of any object. And so that's why, like, even in order to practice or to achieve realization, even to achieve nirvana also, one must have these true union of this the serenity and insight, because without having these two, there's no way to even to achieve nirvana and so on, the higher realization. So that means one has to practice it through. And so sometimes there's a saying that in order to cut the wood, you need a sharp the axe. And it's not only like the sharp axe is enough to cut the wood, but you must have the stable shoulder to hold that axe to hit the right part of the wood to cut the tree or wood. Because even though you have a sharp axe, but if you don't have a stable shoulder to hold that to hit into the right point, then it will be everywhere, so you cannot cut the wood properly. So that's why, like, the sharp axe is like the inside, and then the stable shoulder is like your the serenity that you can be able to focus properly. So that's why, like, to so therefore, like, if we don't have that the stable the serenity, then even though that you may be achieving, like, where you're practicing on realizing emptiness also, it may not be able to continue to realize and achieve, because there are, like, one may be able to achieve emptiness through the indirect perception or with logic and reason also. There are direct valid cognition, you can be able to achieve emptiness. But to stay into that realizing emptiness with direct valid cognition, that first of all you must have the continuity through the serenity and insight can help us to continue and practice and achieve the emptiness of the object. So that's why that one have to continuously practicing on serenity and what do you call this, serenity and insight. So this is the reason here, even that if we lack one of those or those, then how the practitioner also make there's a different level of practice who that shows the weakness. Here we can you see here on the page 20 middle, which is the great final nirvana sutras says that Shravakas do not see the lineage of the Tathagatas because their concentration is greater than their wisdom. So that's why since they lack wisdom, but they have lots of concentration, but they don't have the insight. Only they have the serenity. And Bodhisattva sees it, but unclearly because their wisdom is greater than their concentration. So there's even that shows the Bodhisattva has the loss of wisdom, but they lack the concentration, when they lack the serenity. So the Tathagata sees everything because they have serenity and insight in equal measure. So only the Tathagata who practice the union of serenity and insight together, so they have the both serenity and insight equally, so they can see everything. And so, and then some the practitioners, sometimes that we may have that practice on serenity and insight, but since we have that a practitioner have, because of the lack of understanding properly, may have lots of wrong view. If they have a wrong view, then even though one may have achieved the serenity and insight, there's no way to achieve any realization or further realization because they hold into the certain wrong view. That's why, like, before we seriously engaging into the serenity and insight, first of all, one must know the more what is the clearly about the object of meditation, that with clearing these doubt or wrong view, and then follow the proper way to achieve the realization. Otherwise, one may fall into the wrong view, and then we may still think that we are practicing properly. So that's why some of these, when we step into the higher, the yoga, tantra, or vajrayana practice, that there is a danger in that if we have a wrong view and thinking that I'm practicing such a great practitioner, and if we hold a wrong view, then we may fall into the wrong path or day.
That some Karsha, the Lily, there was Hini Laxis. That was some Chazan the Miguel Dego, because that because same surgery Miguel surgery part of the was mind, same to Yonzo, the Miguel Dean, because Helens and the Terra. So they are surgery, or did it, or did any Hini Laxis. That take on any door, the dollars, that don't you do any dog in Bakaya, any picket Karsa. Zimmer but she had them any Karsa, how long it going to be that hero going because you like Jane is going. She thought this is the same meadow, but you made well in how don't say, take me by he needs it, the next of your she never chairman. She didn't have a Jimmy Showers. The same meadow said, he like Ningal, you are my he nearly never marries. Oh, this word. Hine Majo wounded the Soso de Vishera Dami to the Che, just the other. Hine Majo wounded and Dami to Kadiche and Mamelongi, Naji citizen, Kaji Yudi, Pige Karsas. Louis the Sebo Yonto, Sebo Yomba, the same del Deora, same del day, the same the util Pig Sub to Gurua. She had the Hine man, same the using what they go Marwa. She had the big what did the young chin. And because super do Majma Yenza, and Nibataya Marisi, that Pen Tirva, Pen Ganzo Tirbabe, Tonga Lakwe Gildo, married without Chagina, and Lakwe Mete and Uena, Chakwe out to the Ragmara. What did you work on? Because maybe you are to go medical tongue left to Omar. What did I share of Kazachena? Any you damn several tongue down the Yamon there, top show Chagmaris. What this I have done that is immediately. Same you'll never go on the Goya and Karsa, she near Google is it, you are. Maybe Dami Tongi and so Minjula says that Dami Konali Sebo Pajaba Tonga de Pasho. Tongi tell Sebo here Tomaris. That injures about Taji and only Tongi don't say it, but you just not on that they were Minduxan Taji or Major Lord for Sebo Shas Kayamara. Go Taji at the industry, my you. The most to the corner and it be young to have Savora. Go test it. So Minjula. Kong say he ne Trubet Jenny Hinjan Jenny Hinjan Kaza Hajang Yui, John Dobby, Dami, Tonzi Saw Yui, how long is him Yui, Chamadobi, he nearly go in. You know, Dobby, Chai, he nearly go a mentisa. Did it, said the did that. How long say at the garrison? Tizor Dami do the Yondo with any Dami just saw a Jawadi Laudong Simui, Shamido, Hine, Jaris, you'll never said Hine Jar, my Dami be new dawn, any does this such a head of shadi any Hine Jar, Marisi, Laudong Kono Gumuro, what is what? You know, to be chai Hine Jar, man, this is what you know, I think he didn't say go. Penderedo, Mammy Soul Sashi would say, Dombuda, Dombu Mengamali, and long Jave, your soul, Megayang. Mamma Mioe, Tembecha, Yoala Sobal Joshino, so did it, that be the best. Mammy Soul Sashi would say, succeeded on and Mamma Kona Tumble, you are Yoak Deva Yomarawa, Mamel Jame, I said, she would say, Dombuda. Mengamal Jes, Bamekora Domu the Melger, Yoal Kigo Marawa. Ina long jabi Yoala so Mijayang. Mamma Mio at Demi Shadi any Yoal Gigoro, Yoatan Gigoro, Lunga, what did you buy is what that?
Because how was it because the moment?
Karsa
game, Mammy, your Mammy,
Mammy Kaji Mammy Suksebo Tonto Ajoroa.
No.
Success Manu Kono Muti Karasane, Yoagi Kadimaris, Koram Manu Padu, Kono Barsarawa, Yoatango Mara, say Sha Yoroa. That is big soul tired in the Hagway to be down the sun, anything Hagway to Yoato the sun, and the Marmet typical Kadu de to us Yongoro. No, what did he name such as Gota? Mamma Kono shed of the ship. In the shadow of he named the day to Marwa. What day to I did you are the day to Roa? Said he needed your nation is one.
Nice. So, so to focus in the object of meditation, like the serenity and insight, like one must have the serenity to focus in the object of meditation, and like this one, like why the serenity are important in order to focus in the object of meditation is because it's like if you want to make a fire in the middle of the ground to make a tea, because the wind will continuously blow from everywhere, and then you cannot make a tea properly. That's why, like, if our mind is all disturbed, that we cannot focus into the object of meditation properly, and it's always disturbed by the mental wandering and mental laxity, then there's no way that we can be able to focus and then focus into the serenity and then achieve insight. So that's why, like, we have to try to find a place where that there's no wind, there's no disturbance, so that we can be able to focus. So as like a, yeah, even though that when maybe one maybe try to practice on the selflessness of a person, and then uh, even though there's like one may be like consider as, oh, I'm practicing on the selflessness of a person, but our mind is constantly wandering with this disturbance mind, then there's no way to achieve this selflessness of a person. So that's why like we have to constantly like try to focus with the mindfulness, and then focus into the object to practice. So that's why yeah, like this is the reason that even though that the fire or the lamp, the clearance that doesn't come from wick, even though wick help them to support the light, but the wick itself is not the one who is illuminating the darkness. The light itself has the potential to illuminate the clearing the darkness. So that's why the concentrating and focusing into the object of meditation without distracting, we call the serenity itself, is the like a light that help you to clear the darkness, even though the wick will support to stay stable. So that's why that's how the wick will help is to stay stable, to clear the darkness, and to flame the sorry, I cannot translate this one.
this the same thing minimum maybe he need nyamsha the share ge ta the yang the to shivan jo gon en dole sho yang the divale sim nyamba sha the yang the shi the shivan jo he song this o dire da yang the si de dire wo su de ro wa ta he ma ji ji da ni ton yi do wa li he ni to ga de yo ma ro wa o this or da he ni to ne en he ni ngon ton yi do ne to go ne ton yi mo so to dire so gorin tangbolle simchi hinduse yoyechir meneji himmebar nemebati nyambar mashe sengini yangdabe te tawashi sheba menudes teze nyambar meta mashe semsena karje dözüm sego mar teze wa gazu kamsom shena komesemla nyambar hebe semse warwa ko tingin de yeza ta debetele hila me debesena satomo nega modo yomarwa timeza nyamba masha semse war sheze nyamba masha bi semje yangda ba don shiba minu des kan debe semge don yo do to mar se ganje chomden de ge nyamba hebe yangda ba shito ira di shizu he ka ze do se nyamba hebe se na tirwa samden da eni sumi ta zu samden sem tene eni don yi shi go so do to res eni debe semge sem na tene don yangda ba do to mar se wa da kanje.
So that's why, like in order to achieve the to focus into the object of meditation, like the selflessness of a person, like one must mind or the focus must be stable, because most of us, our mind is distracted by mental wandering or mental agitation. So because of that, there's no way to achieve or to meditate on serenity. So even it says that those who are in the desire realm, the mind of desire realm, there's no way to achieve or to the mental the serenity, a meditative serenity, only by practicing in the we call the like concentration ground or meditative the the concentration or meditative ground, then one can be able to achieve the serenity. So that's why, like in the what do you call the can't come out the word like in the mind of desire realm, there's no way to achieve the serenity.
어디 다다다 티티 배우는 데서 다티 배네 히라 톱선의 가리어서나 신이 저는 다음에 수시의 집에 셔라기 여 정도 보면 메타바다 렌데다 코베님이 거기다 잡닝지 교와 무엇이 누르라서 가르 좀나 애는 톱던 데봐 배는다 신이 와서 거기 그게 체직이 냐면에 신이 톱는 이마직이 냐면에 어디 톱셔야라 어디서 왔다가 배운 식으로 성주 있으면 저걸로서 소도의 셔라기 지금 시험에 남장 nam tamji mikba la yin zhong lo ne rang na ge mikba kei la xian de miao ju bi si gewa kao ji de xian de dao xie la xian de ma ne gong de ni xi jie de mikba xian la yin si ai ni ye zhe xi ba tamji dao xiong de ju ju le sem number yin bi me ni mu xie we cha na ni xie dang de jie ta ne ka do so yu ring de jie ne jiang 谢谢讲，听你这边头，可是啊，是不是因为写完你听你这边头没松？我就是我说，现在中文没有写，就是我的，你他们这写的到写完的，可是就是我的感觉，变得现在嘛都呢，现在这些我变得刚才他到不起的时候呢，没人当人家下个呢，人家他没得当，人家写下的，要基本上这要没去当。 现在我对卡在当地呢，出口的都要嘛了，个宇宙人不那个个了，我对那些说，就是现在的 top 说呢，哎那个老的这个不管是女人不那的话，现在对每天说重要的，推荐方面这开始现在的 top 七个人是，我这是他现在的你们多个以前都不贴的了，哦，贴的，现在这些都宇宙的这些都，开始啊，什么那么因没事。 你们学会唱的那些个，但是说什么那么有些等于这么个都开始呢，这时候的，别的健身这不得这个看到练下这个的时候，但这看这什么这个谁啥了，这个你这中国的是，你就他呢，搞到说，你就是这个这样的我，那下车呀，是了，这搞到帮不起呢，基本上的呢，就是有人不去讲，那什么的就叫嘛是呢？ any karsa simje she wa ni ti ri be thome song she da sa yi jam ti ri wa sa yi jam de de wa she da na mi je ti any geta do da ge wa kha de shi gu she na ka je pe thong di to top shi mo mi ya yo ma re se wa yo na top shi mi ya yo ma re se o ti se ti ri be ta thong sa de me ba pe yo sa de yo ma de se gu je ma de ka je ka da ja pe yo de ni pe ta ne sin de ji ma de je pe 미디 존중야다 특히 공부를 줘야 되는 편도 말이야. 어디선가 이제 문제 신의 도구에 유전 되리서.
So here it explain about the benefit, which is the middle of page 21, which explain about the benefit of practicing on the serenity and insight, and what is the defect on not having the serenity and insight. So which normally it's explained about that when we don't have that serenity and insight, that we may be practicing for like years or eons of practice, but the achievement will be very slow, even though we may be practicing eons and eons. But when we have the practice on the serenity and insight, then everything will be instant, like it will be the realizing the instantly. So that's the benefit. And like not having the serenity and insight is like like you want to boil the water in with the fire, and each time when it's about to boil, when you put off the fire and then you wait for some time, and if you reboil, you have to start again. So that means when you are practicing on the serenity and insight, like when you're about to achieve, you will keep it for some time. Again, you rest, and again, then there's no way to achieve realize the serenity and insight. So that means it must need the continuity until you achieve. So like when you are boiling water, you have to continually put on the fire until it boils, same way as, and when you're practicing the serenity and insight, that you have to continuously focus into, and then you practice until you achieve the serenity and the insight. And so that's why, like here, also the Shantidevas, the guide in the Bodhisattva deeds, also explained that person whose mind is distracted lives between the fangs of the afflictions. So that's like a person who has all this mental disturbance and distracted. That is like we are in the like a jaws of the death, like any time that it can snatch you and then overpowered by our own mental afflictions, and then we cannot be able to further continue our practice. So that's how that the a person who lack the serenity and insight is always distracting. So no matter even though we may be practicing years and years also, there's always that any mental the afflictions will overpower, and then we'll be trapped under the jaws of those afflictions. And then also continues, the one who knows reality has said that the one who knows reality has said, which means the one who knows means the enlightened being or the Buddha, who has said that the prayers, or like those who do prayers, who do reciting mantras and then chanting and then living in an isolated or the ascetic or those things, even that when maybe practicing, but those who lack those kind of for a long time also, but those who lack those single-pointed like serenity and insight, that can be easily can get distracted, and then can be fall into. But even though it doesn't mean that practicing or chanting mantra and those doing all this other the virtuous action doesn't mean that doesn't have benefit, or doesn't mean, but the achievement will be slower. So that's why only if we have the serenity and insight, then anything you add on will be faster, and then it can be achieved faster. So that's why the experience of how important to have this serenity and insight.
다 뒤에다 다 신이 drive gowa de 신이 drive ne 가je 조선은 인스미 발에 향나 샤도 땅나 가봐 땅다 땅다 네 진짜 제시고 시다와 진입을 유 가지 가다 이제 배 번자 뭐와당 튕제 배 람드발이 가갈 배 커서 제시고 아니 커서 톱치고 그 커서 땅에 개베고 그 제시고 삼대설랑지 제보데 산 요미리오 뭐 땅에 개베고 그 리스르 데제데슬라로 시다 땅나 땅도 주용게 아니 샤나 샤데 어디를 구르모도 ene tangi chima chamu sori bjina migba la shana de digi yazardi ene migba pige yu moba loya pige migba moba shene pa yu number 2 ni jogto yesa marwa jog moda yinza ene goba moda sheda ti shine drops de zala oti migba be tati ba she mo kaje lam longe de lo migba yobar o ganga level de ene lo de ene chejo shin do mo de तावारे ये मिगबची ग्राउंड सो होटल में दिए ना ती सब जो हमारे ती हिने गोबा दो ते मारे सुवा ता काजे.
So the serenity also which doesn't mean that you have to practice only only on one object of meditation and stay there, and then just you're enough, good enough. Normally, what serenity means that if you want to focus into the object, you can focus. If you want to keep you don't want to focus into the object of meditation, also you can be able to control your the concentration on easily, whether you are focusing or you are not focusing. That you can always go back and forth. So that's why that kind of that. The power that you must gain by when you practice on into the serenity. And then normally, like when we don't have those kind of these proper the serenity, then even when we have that laxity, mental laxity can easily overpower that. Even that small disturbance happens, that will easily distract our mind and then drawn into by the mental affliction. So then that's we're not in the right direction. So that's why like the purpose of practicing the serenity is like you can keep in your mind into the object of meditation, or without keeping in the object your mind still can be controlled without the mental affliction. So that's how that you had to practice. So I want to stop here. If you have any question, please.
Is it the case that there could be no insight without serenity? Judging from the quote on page 18 from Kamala Shiva, the top of page 18?
Page 18?
Yes.
So without the serenity, there's no insight, you mean?
Yes, yes. It says here that while you remain in serenity, any analysis of that very object is called insight. So that means that there could be no insight without serenity.
Yes.
The reason I'm asking is because nowadays,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's, and for a while there has been a lot of practices like they call it Vipassana and all that without having serenity. So according to this definition, this is not really Vipassana.
Yes. Tanda Kurangi Diwadi the Shine Menal Hakton Yomarves, Shine Menal Hakton Yomarves, Kansana Ko Dingsan, Dina Anso Diva, the Mixigi Tanda Chilu, Wanchugi Chilula, ane konsu shine hakton chi mangpuchi gomechi dine dese mangpu yoro odi da dingone zima ina sikto dige dingone insa maro sikto da bidna peche
hilade chiruwa gome yorla bashida hilade nangbe tumu mu shiwa mari shine lagu yores da tonyi do hilase nangbara timri hilade yorsige lai bashida yor shinajin tumu yishwa.
So yes, according to the text here, it also explained that there are non-Buddhists who can practice the union of the serenity and the insight. But in these texts, as the Buddhist text, is those who the union of serenity, like on wisdom realizing serenity and insight. We have to go through the serenity insight first in order to practice emptiness. But there are in non-Buddhists also that there are both you can practice on serenity.
Well, no, that was not my question. The point is that whether Buddhist or not, it doesn't really matter. What he's saying here is that all insight, even if it's non-Buddhist insight, all insight, it doesn't. Mundane insight, supramundane insight, has to be practiced on the basis, according to this, has nothing to do with Buddhist, non-Buddhist. Has to be practiced on the basis of serenity, according to, that's what he's saying. And in fact, Gyeltsen Rinpoche, on page 21, seems to, finally he gets to that point. On page 21, on the top, says, thus the mental state of insight has quality of steadiness, which I assume to mean that serenity, not just any steadiness, but serenity, which derives from non-discursive meditative serenity, and a quality of knowing. So insight has to include serenity. That's what I'm saying.
Me koina tanda di Gyeltsen Rinpoche dine songsha sakansena di nangpa chiba chi yawa machi chene changma la dine ani shine magom gona lakton de yepa de dogo na chinchi dine songsha sigdu de chinang ni yawa machi ne ro ala tanda Gyeltsen Rinpoche ne dine ani shine ngala madol kasa lakton kasa shine madol ngala madol lakton do yo mareji lakton di odi di songsha sigdu de ani di chiba chiril da nangba chiba insare sigdu koina
re shata hilade 신의 상동 토벌이 신행공 토고야 지고리 신라진가 토가요 대 남과 세우지가 지고리라와
이내 가서 학동 신의 마돌 학동 두바 요마레 승으로 되기네.
다 신의 모두 다 대단한 것도 계속 모르고 그러와 다 라메로 대발시 애니 신라 디지털 시야죠 다다 까면 메서는 이거 요마레 신행은 토고레스
Actually, prior to like insight, yes, the serenity has to go prior to that. There are like together, you can practice together, and even like what Geshe is saying, that in a higher tantric practice, there are like this can be achieved all at once in the serenity and insight, but in the other texts that you can go first serenity and then insight later. Yeah.
So my understanding is that you
you
cannot practice insight without serenity. You cannot practice.
Can it says can, but
Well, he just said no.
With we cannot practice serenity without insight.
We cannot practice insight without serenity. So only insight practice becomes insight only if it's endowed with serenity. If it's not, then it's not insight. It's not vipassana.
I see. Which means without having serenity, not insight. That coin the hakton mena the hakton ma nyamne majina kol hakton mena pena kasa shines in the tsigi mare sig the direve sa de
신의 폐도 말을
펜토 mare
폐도 말을 타바토 말을 시고로
타우토 mare da kala warda shi
다 펜도 청월다 가지 다다 무시 두두도 건가 신라 성주도 그러와 신의 지고 싫어 펜도 말
hak mare pena hakton mena then shines in the ko 고매기 요마로 sig도 어디 있어. 그냥 학동 맨날 신의 고매 요마로 하지. 신의 셰랍로지 찌기에서로 거인. 학동세는 셰랍로지 찌기에서로. and 제도 the 셰랍 맨날 거 신의 고매 요마로 하지도 어디 있어.
알레 셰랍 맨디 신의 다다디 셰랍 가가지고 다다 셰랍 세야디 되지오다. 돈이 더 셰랍 좀 살다 그냥 셰도 돈이 더 셰랍 쓰고로. 자꾸 셰랍 쓰듯이 지다네 고야가天하게 셰랍 쓰고 그래.
어디.
알레 두바이도 고지고라.
Yes, yeah, because you are right now what you are saying is it's a mere wisdom. Then yes, you have to have that insight. But right now, what Buddhist is trying to differentiate J-Rinpoche is the wisdom realizing emptiness. That insight is like it's not necessary to have when you're practicing serenity. But you must have the insight. That's not the. It's a mere wisdom. In general wisdom. Because of course, the insight you can be considered as a mere wisdom also, but in Buddhists they try to categorize that wisdom realizing emptiness also can be considered as a insight.
Other questions?
Well, it was said that mind of desire realm has no way to achieve serenity. A mind of desire realm has no way to achieve serenity. Okay. Now, but we have minds of desire realm. Does that mean that we have no way of achieving serenity?
Tadang gine sungsala nganza debek sem ikenda da digi ani kasa shine thoba yo mare debe sem nganza debe sem yorala debe sem gi ani shine thoba gi de ko yo mare
debe sem mo shine yo mare se la ro
dosem ngo ju shine yo mare
shine yo mare da de ji dang de
thobgure besa desem gi
Düzün dacada mesin diye. De chansi sabalde yara de mixe leva. Mesin diye. Dübesim si orada.
Rest.
Dübesim yo.
In
Dübe tenje si orada. Dübe tenje gidi ganga thoya yara. Sanjiya yara ganga she yara. Dübe tenje sindi kagara. Dübesim se aja. Simde se aja yara.
Last. In desire realm, you can achieve, but not in the desire mind. So in the form of desire mind, there's no way to achieve serenity. But in the desire realm that you can achieve, I think that's how so yeah.
So we have to, even though we're in this desire realm, in order to achieve serenity, we have to achieve a mind of a different realm.
Yeah, different realm, yeah. But not in the desire mind,
What does that mean, lineage of the Tathagatas?
Huh? Lineage of Tathagatas?
Yeah, there's a quote here, lineage of the Tathagatas. The Shravakas do not see the lineage of the Tathagatas.
Tanda di kasa Dijin shape kasa page 20. Dijin shape rig sing di sing khar lagi na sa. Dijin shape rig sing the lineage of Tathagata. Oh.
So Shravakas do
rig
not see
sing di.
al dagde be nindo de gara
Dijin shape rig
땡이 되게 저리서 디셔라 시저 디게 와 땡이 되셔라 샤냥장 세다제서 사디레
the Dijin shape rig sing the khari na sagidu. Dijin shape rig sing the khari na sagidu na.
디시 봐서도 상예서 가라 거기 상제 강가싱이 돼서 그다 니도 다 정주스바에는 정주스바 야와라 되나 니도 다 줘들 디가 정주스 봐지 제가 됐네 건강을 상예의 체면 나신 체도 말 최담지 라디 줄라 챙기도 상예 말이요 말라다.
So lineage of Tathagata means Buddhas that knows everything. Only the Buddhas, the lineage of Tathagata means that knows everything, can know as it is.
numda 동굴 되는 게 됐어. 콜라 여러 단지도 여러 수도 콜라
레레 아예.
되게 롱거지 여러 되게 몸이 매워 지금 맞죠. 마음에 불안하게 말이야.
Rere's So earlier I couldn't translate about the lamp, the wick and then oil that become the condition to lit the lamp or the light, but it doesn't give itself the luminosity. And then also on the one that cover the lamp, which is the maybe the glass or those things. Now didi karsa. So yeah. Yeah. So that's why the one who hold that they protect from disturbing the lamp, that also help the condition to protect from distracting the light. So that's how that the lamp, what you call the light itself, that protect from distracting itself is the serenity that help us to not to distract the mind. And then the luminous that help to light clearly is the single pointed, the insight that help you to achieve the a selflessness of a person, selflessness of a person.
This is that be the this is how come the marmer jora. So the could don't you share wood. The nom the dumbul jigger mother yola jigger kono sevo ya with Ramjar Esigar. Yina like any hine mena. And the big number of your tongue and the acid, Mamma Kona Yabo Yena la Yamena. Unity Mamati Kona never shut on the Tonto Maro. But the never shut on Zoya Tondala, he need to go on this one. That was it. But say that he never.
So even that's a wick and then the oil It's like on the wisdom realizing emptiness. It is already there actually. You don't have to add anything, but it's already there. But to illuminate that, to see clearly about the emptiness of the phenomena object, the clearance of the light helps. So that's why the serenity, the shamatha is the one that illuminates and see the clearance of that emptiness. Okay.
아,
신라녀가 똑똑해 줘. 얘네가서 신에 당 하더니 뭐 찍게 시와치고 어떤 동안 가지는 거지나 얘네가서 신라니 소선에 요래 신라니 뭐 찍도 상대 때문에
hilā ngū chik sikare tā hilā sungri sāyā chāwarwa. Mē hiñde ngū chik sate mare, tā lakdōng rē xērāba chā lagu mare, hiñi tēngi tēki chā sikara.
동안 가지면 신라 손질 와.
Sūyā sungri.
그래서 그 신에 당 하고니가 아니었나.
ā,
동안 가지면
tā chira tā kōrō hilā tā hiñi lakdōng kāyā mā yīsi. Tā jīgōng tā jōgōng kāyī sēne, tā jīgōng yīngirē rō. jīgōng.
내외 차가 그게 동년은 뜨지 냠발 쪽에 통한 가지면은데 아니 동년은 뜨지도 냠발 쪽에 내제 차를 실라 시안 그런 통한 가지면은 그런 제내가 시내 말아
hiñi mā yī. Kō chā rō, hiñi lakdōng chā yī yā. hiñi lakdōng chā yī, hiñi lakdōng kāyā mā yī bā chā yī. Tā chā tōg zīndi tā chā bē, ngō chā yā mā yī.
So they're going through the subtleness of the concentration ground about because the time will come that even neither of these two will include into the single pointed meditation on serenity and insight. So there are points that comes into that, like you have to differentiate, like even is neither of this or can be none of this also.
조금 무시하지 시내당 조금 무시하고 무시하라
나 조금 샤디 다 네베 샤디 히네 인스 지바라 다 네베 샤디 히네 쇼레스 저 유르 수수 제베 사디 락동 러와 네트가 샤르 신나 데레 러와 다 거기 총대셔야 돼요.
So I have some announcement to make here. On April 10th is a talk, which is the 25th, and then on April 12th is the Latte Rinpoche's anniversary. So we'll be doing a talk offering on 12th at 7:30, 7:30 on 12th April. That's it. And then some prayers request. Yashika, which is in coma since January 12th, and then Francis, which is passed away in March 28th. So 2 prayers. Melam ji jorjesa de chik na de sa chik tong to jikin la nyombe chom den de tenzan de be ngin do dunghe so do so me sa sanje menge la be la ja de atom be ga ze ma be ga ze ra de samung ga de so ha de atom be ga ze ma be ga ze de atom be ga ze ma be ga ze ra de samung ga de so ha de atom be ga ze ma be ga ze ra de samung ga de atom be ga ze ma be ga ze ra samung ga de atom be ga ze Tetan begaze ma begaze ra samanga de so tetan begaze ma begaze ra samanga tetan begaze ma begaze tetan begaze ma begaze ra samanga de so ha gewa de nyundo da me be gewa toa chicha male pa de sala ge par shu kange lo de timne de ni da nam da ra se jinye de ge je ze che ni ge du gon le Kanda sube tsera mare mendon do nye geze, dozo kin la buche ta se yon duju yan. Dodra che ro nye mo nye lo lege cha ro deze che mare mense do nye nye go chi nye che zero. Tene da ju sa ju ta se yon de le zo geze tu yi go chu ta chu ta chu nye ge. Da lo mense jambe yan la de o maro baza maro baza. Om Marabazana di 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 Zede ke 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 ra vese Talo te mo memba rapse ne Kada tenje shon lo topai Lo de bobe na wa tse do se Lo de jazo yudu be karai Kia zang mu ye zo do pen zinze pa Tenba zin la wando ki chu Danyen chu gen cha la se wa de
Page 21.
Wherever sparse appears, clearing the darkness of ignorance. Who has with the darkness of ignorance, you have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages of achieving the highest perfections of the Bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with the 112 marks of the Buddha, and go down to your Manjushri, O Marapasanadi, O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing your mind, uniting in others and wisdom, also to begin insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain again.
Page 31.
Like the sweet perfumes of lotus, born in the oceans of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate beings, were famed to embrace all direction. You are proficient and powerful, upholding the to you, O Lord of Inse Wanda, respectfully I pray.
Nhất tâm kính lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, bậc đại trí ngài đều phục hai chướng ngại, tựa nhật quan lan tỏa khắp mười phương, bậc thực chứng chân nghĩa màu rốt ráo, từ tim ngài bát nhã cát thủ hộ nhiệm màu, cõi luân hồi chúng sanh thọ nghiệp báo, bị ngăn che bởi phiền não vô minh, sở hữu 60 pháp âm thù thắng, cùng đại bi ngài hóa độ chúng sanh, tựa từ mẫu chăm lo cho quý tử, tiếng rồng vang ngài thức tỉnh hữu tình, thoát khỏi vòng luân hồi nghiệp báo, gồm trí tuệ ngài chặt đứt vô minh, tận diệt muôn vàn khổ đau cùng ách nạn, trường tử Như Lai tối thắng toàn giác, ngài an trụ nơi thập địa pháp vân, báu thân ngài trang nghiêm thanh tịnh, 112 tướng hảo Như Lai, đê đầu đảnh lễ Đức Văn Thù Sư Lợi, cúi xin ngài tận diệt ám chướng vô minh. Om Arapasanadi. Được chí sáng con thâm nhập nghĩa màu, pháp vi diệu cùng muôn vàn luận giải, như diệu hương ngọt ngào từ sen trắng, đàn xanh nơi trí thù thắng đại dương, hàng thiện căn như ong mật thọ nương, hồng danh ngài khắp mười phương quảng bá, đấng thiện xảo uy dũng bảo tồn pháp bảo vô giá. Nam mô Lốp Sang Tenzin Quang Đắc, xin cung kính trì niệm.
Ge wa de ye nyoro yando yanda la ma sa je do juro ne do wa je cha ma le ba de sa la janjo semjo remboje magye banam ke jroje ke wa nyamba me baya Gone gondo be warai sho toni tawai rinpoche mage panam kejiroje kewa nyamba me baya Gone gondo be warai sho sa je beje joje me dota Rira linje nyende genba ende sanje shindo me de yuwai Doge namda shin la che para sho ye gare rave korve shin kamde pendan de wa male jungwen chere se wa tenzen jatso shabe se de bardo tenjuro che ye dam goro ren mendela kaner ya ta ya me